Even billion-dollar ships with state-of-the-art tech aren't safe here. This is where the ocean doesn't play fair. The Drake Passage is a name that stirs dread among sailors. Not because of any looming cliffs or lurking sea monsters, but because of something worse. A raw, untamed stretch of ocean where nature is in full control, and survival is never guaranteed. This narrow body of water, just 600 miles wide, has claimed over 800 ships and more than 10,000 lives. It's not just a route, it's a trial by ocean. Located between the southern tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula, the Drake Passage connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. To its north sits Cape Horn, the last point of land before the open Southern Ocean. To its south, the icy reaches of Antarctica. There's no continent below to act as a buffer, no landmass to break the fury of the wind and waves, just open sea and endless storms. It is here that the world's strongest ocean current, the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, funnels between continents. It's the only current that circles the globe uninterrupted, and it moves more water than any other. Flowing west to east, it pulls cold, dense water from Antarctica and mixes it with warmer currents from the Pacific and Atlantic. This conveyor belt of energy drives much of the planet's climate. Without it, the world's weather systems would collapse. But this current doesn't move gently. In the Drake Passage, it accelerates, unimpeded by land. Massive waves, some over 60 feet tall, are pushed by gale-force winds that often exceed 70 miles per hour. The waters churn with ferocity, whipped into a frenzy by pressure systems that never rest. Sailors don't call it a passage, they call it a battleground. Millions of years ago, there was no Drake Passage. Antarctica and South America were connected. Then, the continents shifted. A rift opened, and the sea rushed in. This tectonic crack created the narrow channel we now fear and rely on. It was a small geological shift with massive consequences. As the current formed, Antarctica began to freeze, cut off from the warmer northern waters. Ice sheets thickened. Global climate patterns changed forever. But before science understood any of this, there were the sailors. The first European to glimpse the Drake Passage wasn't Francis Drake, but Francisco de Hoces, a Spanish navigator who in 1525 was blown south of the Strait of Magellan. His crew spotted open ocean far to the south, confirming that South America ended well before any southern continent. The Spanish named it Mar de Hoces. That name didn't stick. In 1578, Sir Francis Drake's fleet was pushed into the same waters by a storm. One ship sank, another turned back. Only Drake's flagship, the Golden Hind, emerged into the wild Southern Ocean. Though he didn't sail through the passage on purpose, the discovery was noted by the English, and his name became forever linked to the channel. The first successful voyage through the Drake Passage came decades later in 1616, when Dutch sailor Willem Schouten navigated around Cape Horn and into the Pacific. It was a breakthrough. Before that, European powers were limited to the cramped and treacherous Strait of Magellan. Now, there was another option, wider, but far more dangerous. What makes the Drake Passage so deadly isn't just one factor. It's all of them at once. There's the wind, howling unimpeded around the globe. There are the waves, stacked and angry, colliding from multiple directions. There's the current, fast and unpredictable, throwing whirlpools and eddies at anything in its path. And then there's the ice. Massive icebergs break off Antarctica's glaciers and drift north. Some are larger than cities. These floating hazards are hard to detect and harder to avoid, especially in rough seas. For centuries, they've been the downfall of ships too slow or unlucky to steer clear. One of the earliest tragedies was the wreck of HMS Wager in 1741. Part of a British expedition to the Pacific, the ship was caught in a brutal storm off Cape Horn. Battered and lost in the chaos of the Drake Passage, it eventually smashed into the Chilean coast. The survivors found themselves stranded in a frozen wilderness. Mutiny followed. The chain of command collapsed. Supplies ran out. In the end, only 10 men returned to Britain. The rest were consumed by the elements, or each other. In 1819, the Spanish ship San Telmo set out from Buenos Aires. It was last seen near the South Shetland Islands, drifting helplessly in a storm. It vanished without a trace. All 644 crew members were lost. To this day, It's believed that some of the first humans to die near Antarctica perished on that ship, long before anyone officially set foot on the continent. Then there's the Belgica expedition of 1897. This was supposed to be a scientific mission, the first to spend a winter in Antarctica. But after crossing the Drake Passage, the ship was caught in sea ice and trapped. The sun vanished for months. The cold was unrelenting. Men began to lose their minds. Scurvy set in. But one man, American Dr. Frederick Cook, had a solution. He forced the crew to eat raw penguin and seal meat, saving their lives. When the sun returned, the ice still held them. For weeks they hacked and blasted their way out until the ship finally broke free and limped home across the same passage that had nearly destroyed them. But no story of the Drake Passage matches the sheer willpower of Ernest Shackleton's journey in 1916. His ship, the Endurance, was crushed by ice in the Weddell Sea. He and his crew camped on drifting floes, then made it to Elephant Island, still hundreds of miles from help. Shackleton took 5 men and set off in a 22-foot lifeboat through the heart of the Drake Passage. For 16 days, they battled hurricane winds, freezing spray, and monstrous waves. They arrived half dead on South Georgia Island, then had to climb a glacier to reach help. Miraculously, every single man survived. Even with modern technology, the Drake Passage hasn't lost its bite. In 2022, a polar cruise ship, the Viking Polaris, was hit by a rogue wave, a wall of water 16 meters high. It shattered windows and tragically killed a passenger. Rogue waves are rare, sudden, and deadly. They are reminders that the Drake Passage plays by no one's rules. Yet for all its danger, this waterway is vital. It's a crossroads of science, shipping, and survival. The Drake Passage is a main artery for the global ocean conveyor belt. Cold, oxygen-rich water plunges to the deep, driving circulation that stabilizes the planet's climate. Without it, marine ecosystems would collapse. Weather patterns would warp. Life as we know it would change. Scientists regularly brave the crossing to gather data on salinity, temperature, plankton, and krill. The region teems with life. Krill are the base of the food web here, feeding whales, seals, penguins, and birds. Every sample collected helps us understand the planet better. Tourists come too, by the thousands each year. Most depart from Ushuaia, Argentina, and endure 2 days at sea. Some get lucky. The water is calm, and the crossing is smooth. This is the rare Drake Lake. But more often, it's the Drake Shake. Seasickness is common, so is awe. Ships today use satellite data to track storms, icebergs, and current flow. Captains plan routes carefully. Sometimes they delay departures for better conditions. But no technology can promise a smooth crossing. The Drake Passage still chooses who gets through. This place isn't just a strip of ocean. It's a force, a living engine of the planet's climate, a historic gauntlet of exploration, a watery grave for those who miscalculate. Every crossing is a gamble, and every survivor has earned their way through one of the most dangerous stretches of sea on Earth. You don't conquer the Drake Passage. You respect it, and if you're lucky, you survive. If you made it through this journey, you're clearly drawn to stories of real danger, lost ships, and the wild edge of our world. That's what this channel is all about. Unfiltered tales of exploration, disaster, and survival. No fluff, just the raw truth. Stick around, because the next story might be even stranger than this one. The Drake Passage doesn't care how advanced your ship is or how skilled your crew might be. Out here, nature still holds all the power, and every crossing is a reminder that some frontiers can never be conquered, only survived. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.